on set, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, Florida House Member Byron Donalds. Gentlemen, thank you ever so much for coming on set. We appreciate it. Senator, first of all, Jerry Baker's column, I don't think anybody could have said it better.
Well, you're absolutely right. We need to make sure Israel has everything they need, not just to defend themselves, but to defeat their enemy. And in the big picture, Larry, what we know is the world is a lot more dangerous now under Biden-Harris than it was when you were working in the White House with President Trump. President Trump, in terms of Iran, had a full pressure component. Now what we have is full appeasement by the Democrats. And what we have seen happen with these guys in the office is $100 billion because of relief sanctions that went to Iran. Oil to China, money back to Iran. This is why Iran wants Kamala Harris to get elected, because they know it'll be easier for them. And that's what we've had briefings on this in the Senate. And what we see is Iran is doing what they can to influence the election in the United States, to help Harris and to hurt President Trump.
They've hacked into Trump.
They have.
And they sent it over to some campaign staffers. More is probably coming. I mean, Iran's kind of said that, haven't they?
They have. They actually want President Trump dead. They've said that as well. Israel is our greatest ally in that part of the world. We need to do everything we can to help them and to make sure they are able to go actively, aggressively against Iran.
You know, Byron, the senator's point, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on this set, sitting right there where Senator is, said that he had no doubt in his mind Iran would like to assassinate Trump on the campaign trail. So what you're saying is not far-fetched. I want to just put something on the full screen, get your response to it. This is the White House talking about the Iranian attacks that occurred today. They said, "We are actively supporting defensive preparations to defend Israel against this attack." Now, here's the money line. A direct military attack from Iran against Israel will carry severe consequences for Iran. That's from a, quote, senior White House official, okay? So there's been a direct attack. We would agree on that. What consequences are going to happen? So far, I've not heard any.
To be honest with you, Larry, I don't know. I would say the American people do not know, and I would shudder to think that Bibi Netanyahu and the military council in Israel, they do not know. What has brought us to this point is the weakness from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's the moral equivalency, the moral relativism between Israel's response to the heinous attacks on October 7th. And because this administration has not clearly stated that they stand behind Israel no matter what, it has allowed these constant attacks to precipitate in the Middle East. Contrast where we are today to where we were 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, when the thing that Republicans, Democrats, Independents all wanted, peace in the Middle East, was actually occurring under Donald J. Trump. Now, fast forward 4 years, because of weakness on the world stage, the Middle East is on fire. And the only way you're going to put this fire out is to stand solely behind Israel, make sure they have everything they need to finish the job of securing the nation of Israel.
You know, Senator, just building on what Byron is saying, I would say strike while the iron is hot. In other words, what Israel has just done, they've basically taken out the whole leadership of Hezbollah. They had already taken out basically the whole leadership of Hamas. Just let them go. Don't restrain them. Let Israel be Israel. Let the IDF be the IDF. They're winning the wars. Let them continue to win the wars. And in fact, it's time for some kind of pincer movement or crusher on Iran. Iran is crippled. Iran has to worry about this. Their assets are getting killed in the battlefield, literally, which is a great thing for civilized countries. Now, don't stop Israel. Let them go. Or better yet, help them. Do something. This quote, severe, if you carry out an attack, Iran carries out against Israel, severe consequences for Iran. We've not once seen the administration take severe consequences against Iran. Not once.
Certainly not this administration. Larry, look, Iran right now is very vulnerable. They're threatened. They should be threatened. They should be vulnerable, and they are. Hezbollah, generations of leadership has been wiped out. Weaponry wiped out. Hamas devastated by what has happened to them, all by Israel being very, very successful. So Iran does its attack today. I don't know if they're going to try to escalate or just go back and hide. Either way, Israel should be on the move. We have opportunities. We need to make sure that Israel has abilities not just to defend themselves, but to go and prosecute those who are trying to kill them.
You're on the Foreign Relations Committee, correct? I know you're an energy specialist, and of course that plays into it because we lifted the energy sanctions so they can build
$100 billion. $100 billion.
That's a key part of this, and it was an enormous mistake. But I want to ask you, is there bipartisan support? Let me just, first of all, anything across the aisle? Are there Democrats supporting Israel, what Israel is doing? Now, I think I know a few. I don't know if they're on your committee. And so what might come out of that?
I think things could come out of that successfully. There are Democrats supporting Israel. But the left wing of the Democrat Party is the pro-Hamas wing.
Yes.
And that's the tail that's wagging the dog of the Democrat Party. And you're going to see that prosecuted tonight, I think, by J.D. Vance at the debate, where he's going to make the fundamental case of why we need Donald Trump back in the White House. And it's Israel and what our standing is in the world, the aggressive nature of our enemies against us, but it's also the cost of things, the open border, our weakness abroad, all of those things. I think he's going to make the case tonight about why America is much better off. If we want to get back on track, we need Donald Trump, because only 1 in 4 Americans today, Larry, say that our country is headed in the right direction. This can't continue. We can't continue this way for our nation.
Byron, some advice for J.D. Vance? I mean, actually, feel free to give advice for Governor Walz also, but I have a sense you'd prefer to give it to Vance.
No, I'm not going to give Governor Walz any advice. What I will say, and this is to piggyback off of Senator Barrasso, there are Democrats in the House who stand by Israel. The problem is the Democrat leadership does not. And the Democrat leadership in the House, and I would argue probably in the Senate as well, definitely in the White House, they are playing this dance of how much do they want to support Israel? Are they going to lose votes in the election? So they are playing politics with global affairs that could lead us into World War III. That's a very dangerous place. So my advice for Senator Vance tonight is to explain that very clearly to the American people, that Democrat leadership, Kamala Harris included, they do not want to actually stand firm for Israel because they're more concerned about their votes in Michigan and Minnesota. That is not the level of presidential leadership we need right now. You have to be firm in the face of your adversaries, just like Donald J. Trump has been. And when that happens, what we've seen is peace actually comes to the world, which is what Donald J. Trump wants, what J.D. Vance wants, what we all want.
Peace through strength. We don't have peace right now. We don't have strength right now. By the way, we're cutting the military budget way, way too far. I had Senator Wicker on last night on the show.
And the interest on the debt right now is greater than what Biden has put up on his budget for the military.
I'd like to see J.D. Vance take this statement and ask Mr. Walz, Governor Walz, and his running mate what exactly they're going to do. A direct military attack from Iran against Israel will carry severe consequences for Iran. Where is it?
I hope they can get answers, Larry, but they don't answer questions.
Something, they never seem to do that. They tell Israel to go into a ceasefire every single time. This isn't a ceasefire. Hamas doesn't agree to the ceasefire. Hezbollah doesn't agree to the ceasefire. Iran doesn't agree. I'll knock the coffee cup over in a minute. I get so excited about this stuff. I just don't understand it. I don't like to cast aspersions, but I just don't understand it.
This administration projects weakness every day. We need a strong president and a strong presence by the United States all around the world. Donald Trump will deliver that.
We need a strong America. We must return to a strong America. I was a Reagan kid years ago, and then I worked for Trump. We must be a strong America. And if Israel is going to be the tip of that spear, then God bless them. Let them do it. All right. John Barrasso, Senator John Barrasso, Congressman Byron Donalds, both of you, thank you for coming.